Hi there, this is Kimberly with Global Data Solutions. I'm going to show you with this video how to import leads into Acumatica using an existing scenario. This is a beginner level video, and maybe you're not a beginner to Acumatica itself, but you're new to import scenarios. Let me go ahead and show you what I mean by that. In Acumatica, there are some screens where you can upload files directly from Excel. You can see the folder button with the up arrow, and when you hover over it, it says Load Records from File. When you add a lead, that does not exist. So we have to get these leads in the system another way, and that's where Import by Scenario is going to come into play. All adjustments are going to be to the Excel file, and what I mean by that is simply that since it's a beginner level video, I imagine you are more comfortable manipulating data within Excel than you are in an integration scenario at this time. That being said, this video assumes that your IT department or your VAR, someone has already set up the scenario to recognize this Excel file that's going to pull in your leads. If that is not the case and you need help, go ahead and reach out to your VAR or contact us at Global Data Solutions and we will make sure that you get straightened out all right. This is going to be a 5-step process today. Instead of just putting the leads in the system, we are going to make sure that we are cautious and we do a quality job. We're going to protect our data, so if something goes wrong, we will be no worse off than when we started. We're going to prep our files to try to minimize the potential of having errors during the import. Finally, we'll import your leads and validate the results, really give them a look over in the system to make sure that things are exactly as you want them. And then finally, when all that's done, you will reopen your system, reopen Acumatica to all of your users. So step 1, protect your data. Obviously, of critical importance, you do not want to accidentally add this file twice and then make a mistake trying to back one of those copies out. Things can get really messy when you're playing directly with the database, so you want to take a snapshot and make sure that you have an instance that you can go back to if anything goes wrong. What we're going to do is go under the System Management workspace, and before taking the snapshot, click Apply Updates. This is under the System Maintenance menu, and click Schedule Lockout. It doesn't matter what you have for the reason, but what that's going to do is make it so no one else can sign into Acumatica except the administrators. You want to do this when no one else is working in the system. We don't want them to lose any data if we have to revert back to a snapshot later on. Then also from the System Management workspace, if you click on the First Tenants link, you will be able to create a snapshot. For a description, you can enter anything you like. I am going to enter pre-lead import and click OK. The wheel will turn, and depending on the size of your database, this might take a little bit of time. When it is over, you will see the check mark that is inside the green circle. And there's our check mark inside the green circle. That lets us know that the snapshot was successfully taken. And if anything goes awry during our import process, we can simply restore that snapshot and be no worse for the wear. That was step 1, protecting your data. Next, we're going to look at prepping the actual file. In Acumatica, if you go to the Import by Scenario area, and that is found in the Integration workspace, go ahead and click Import by Scenario. And there is a link that says Get File. That will download for you the most recent version of the file that was used for an import. And if you had someone set up the scenario for you, they probably put a test file there just so you can see the exact format. I'm going to go ahead and open that Excel spreadsheet. And there are a couple of things that are important. One is that your heading values are exactly as they appear in the sample spreadsheet. In fact, I'm going to go ahead and copy the entire first row of the sample spreadsheet. And then I'm going to go to my own spreadsheet that I'm about to import. And I'm going to insert that copied row directly over my row. And as you can see, not everything is matching right now, and that's exactly the point. We want to get our spreadsheet that's going in for import to match the sample spreadsheet. So the title is going to be here in column A. In fact, we do not need the display name at all in this import scenario. So I'm going to go ahead and delete these, letting the cells shift to the left. And now I have title under title. Another thing that is important for you to check is that anything that comes from a drop-down list or a lookup value in Acumatica has to be entered exactly the same way. I'm seeing some Miss, Mr., Doctor, Professor. I want to make sure that those options are available in Acumatica and that they're printed the same way, mixed case with a period at the end of the abbreviations. So I'm going to hop back over to my Acumatica screen and look at the leads. I'm going to hop back over to the Acumatica screen and look at the lead screen where you enter a new lead. Here's that drop-down list. We have Dr., Miss, Mr., Mrs., Ms., and Professor. They are all mixed case, and they end in a period where it is an abbreviation. So we're in good shape there. Let's also, while we're here, look at the source campaigns that we have available. If you go to a trade show, you might want to track those leads so you can see later on down the road how successful that show was. You want to set yourself up a campaign in the marketing workspace, and we can see the conference that we just attended. It was the 2019 Global Data Solutions Conference. That has been set up, and the campaign ID is 5 zeros with a 2 on the end. That is the information I feel like I need, so let me go back to the Excel spreadsheet. The first names look good to me, and the last name. Here is a campaign column where we have a position column in our current spreadsheet. So let's go ahead and insert some space. We will shift cells to the right. And under campaign, we just looked this up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 2. Now notice that reverted to an actual number 2 in Excel. If you have your cells formatted as a number, that is not going to match correctly. So let's go ahead and format the cells here. We're going to format these as text. And that way when I enter 2, 3, 4, 5 zeros and a 2, that stays exactly as I need it to be. Let's go ahead and drag this down because they're all from the same campaign. And change the drag down option so they all remain as 2. And now we have campaign properly in column D. Column E is position, and in our sheet it's position, company name matches, state and country match, city and postal code match. It looks like everything else here is matching. Here are a couple of exceptions. Our spreadsheet has phone 2 and phone 3. The original does not. So we will go ahead and delete those. Now our faxes are aligned. Of course, we do not want 2 heading rows. We only want 1. So we can remove that one and save. Now we have a spreadsheet that has 1 and only 1 heading row. The heading row is copied directly from the import by scenario file. And also, sheet 1 is the only sheet. That turns out to be quite important as well. So that was prepping our file, and again, we did that to minimize the potential of having errors while doing the import, which means it is now time to import our leads. Going back to Acumatica, under More Items for most people, you will find this integration workspace. I already have that available and open in another tab. And Import by Scenario is over here under Transactions. If you click Import by Scenario, use the magnifying glass to look up the scenario. I have named mine Import Leads from Excel. And again, your VAR or your IT department may have named it something else. Either way, call up the appropriate scenario. We have already gotten the file. Now we want to upload a new file version. Go ahead and navigate to your new spreadsheet that has been validated and modified. And once you click OK, the system is going to save this as a separate version of the file. Unless you remove these versions, they are all going to stay in Acumatica. So if you ever want to go back and see what a previous version of an import file looked like, it is still available to you. The next thing we do is click the Prepare button. This allows us to look at the Acumatica fields next to our data and once again confirm that things look as we believe they should before clicking Import. Once you receive the check mark in the green circle, we are going to go ahead and validate our data. And that is step 4. We're going to validate our results not just in that preview screen, but also by going back to the lead screen, clicking refresh, and checking out our list of leads that have now been imported into the system. We'll check our record count to make sure that is as we expect. And typically, I'll check the first few, the last few, and about 10% of the leads in the middle. I do that with any data import just to make sure things went as expected and there are not any one-off instances of a problem. Once the results are validated to your satisfaction, you can now reopen your system. And to do that, you will simply go back to System Management. Under Apply Updates, you will stop the lockout, and the system is reopened. That concludes the 5 steps to importing leads into Acumatica using an existing scenario. You want to protect your data in case anything goes wrong so you can revert back to the data as it was when you first started. You'll prep your file to make sure your file matches the file that is expected by the system. Make sure all of those header columns are labeled the exact same way, that your campaign ID is in proper format, and that you have one and only one sheet in your workbook. Finally, import your leads with the Prepare and Import function in Import by Scenario. Validate your results, checking to make sure everything turned out exactly as you want it before you reopen your system, allowing your other users to log in. This video is brought to you by Global Data Solutions, software written in this century for this century. Visit us at www.gds21.com.